Happy Easter weekend to all of you out there who celebrate. Welcome to episode 65 of The Wise Guys. It's just myself and one other person here tonight, so don't get your hopes up here. I'm going to bring in my co host, the guy who steals all of my fashion sense, Mike Martinez.
Not all of it, just one main portion of it.
So I'm just going to send you a bracelet before too long, and we could be like Joey and Chandler. We could be bracelet buddies.
That's what they're going to call us. So, James, I got to tell you, last week was so much fun.
There's still probably a couple of things, a couple of off the rails segments I could probably still cut out of that if I wanted to.
You
I
probably
think I
could.
actually forgot to cut rabbit shitting cotton.
No, it wasn't rabbit shedding cotton. It was rabbit on Viagra.
Rabbit on Viagra, that was it. So I got to go back and find that, but you saw all the stuff that I put up.
I did. I just need to know who Rice thinks he is. He's like a writer. It's getting disgusting.
I mean, he is also responsible for most of the good ideas that we've actually started on this show. So thank God we don't have his volume. We'd actually owe him monetization.
I ain't paying him. Fuck that. So, Jim, I told you off the jump, I had something for you off topic from what we're going to cover in the hat trick. But it came over 30 minutes ago on the NHL site on Facebook and 10 minutes ago on ESPN New York. Jonathan Quick now has the most wins by a U.S.-born goalie in NHL history. 392.
Good for Quick.
That's 5 wins with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, 17 wins with the New York Rangers, and 370 wins. And I believe a Stanley Cup with the Los Angeles Kings. 2 cups with the Kings.
2012 and 2014 at the expense of the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers.
So he just basically told the New York tri-state area to go fuck themselves in hockey for 2 years.
Essentially the only thing that was actually missing is, beating the Islanders in a cup final. So I will try to actually not to be a squirrel tonight. I've got the Alabama-Clemson game on right behind me, but I'm not as focused in on this one as I was last week.
Which CFP game are you rewatching?
2050?
Was that? Yeah, that was them. Or 2016.
Or 2018 or...
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, that was Trevor Lawrence's championship. So, James, since we came to you with the Four Horsemen, which I cannot wait till that happens, I've actually watched the translator, the off the rails. Somebody just dunked on somebody.
Kinda, but Alabama player went down real awkward and immediately started grabbing at his calf.
Never good.
Yeah.
That sounds like an Achilles. Back of the calf? Like bottom of it?
Trying to get a better look. Not the calf. It was the back of the quad.
Oh, that's a hammy.
Yep. It's trying to do a chase down block and just kind of whiffed and landed a little awkwardly. Yeah, so that's got to be a hammy. Maybe a
No bueno.
Yep.
So, James, last week's episode was a lot of football, obviously, with the chaos that is free agency. We have the draft process coming up. Of course, we had Alex on as part of the Four Horsemen. Chicago has finally figured out that apparently the nail polish wearing guy is the one they're going to draft number 1 overall. So this week, did you see him? He was at some game. He had pink nail polish on. He had the pink lip gloss on. He had a pink phone case with his glittery keys. And I'm like, dude, you're going to Chicago? Granted, I'm very much a do you, boo type person. They're going to crucify him. And Alex is going to be hilarious.
Why couldn't he have done it last week? We could have used it as cannon fodder last week. Alex could have easily filled 20 minutes before Rice came on.
Alex was ready to fill 20 minutes before Rice came on, whether we talked about him having that stuff on or not. So let's talk. We're going to lean heavy on the other one tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, it's we got that wasn't even close. Sorry, I gotta turn this damn thing off. Otherwise,
Uh,
you're gonna see me begging for treats in 20 minutes if I didn't.
because Thursday was the greatest day on the sports calendar, in my opinion. It is the rebirth. It is the day that we are petitioning those of us who are as big a fan as I am to make a national holiday, and that is opening day. And that is opening day in Major League Baseball. Of course, Met fans had to wait an extra day because of bad weather in the Northeast, as did some other fans. Philadelphia and Atlanta had to wait a day. Shouldn't have waited a day. They got the shit beat out of them yesterday. They lost yesterday, lost again today. So 2024 is starting out better than most years because usually the Mets win right away. And then they're dog shit after. So I'm hoping. Been a couple of bright spots in those two games, but outside of that, it's been what the fuck, dude?
I mean, everyone's at least got 2 games in, so
Yeah, everybody's got
we're
at
all
least 2 games in.
we're all happy. We you don't like early season rainouts and postponements where you got to start jamming things up on the back end.
Yeah, at least with opening day, with a lot of the teams that played on Wednesday, on Thursday, you had the day off Friday, and then we're playing Saturday. So you had the ability to do that. And especially in April or March/April, you see a lot of that. You really don't need a fifth starter until like the third week of the season,
Right.
because of days off. You really don't need to go deep into your bench normally, because of days off and such. I will give this shout out here, and that is to New York Mets utility infielder Zach Short, who actually graduated from the same high school my 2 kids did in Kingston, New York. Was acquired from the Detroit Tigers this past offseason and made his first opening day roster, and unfortunately was told about 2 hours after his parents notified him that his grandmother had passed. And he got the notice that he was going to the big leagues. Grew up a Met fan, was actually at the 2000 World Series, and he got his first hit in a Met uniform today. So, Zach, not that you'll ever see this, buddy, but congratulations. All of us who have roots in Kingston are proud of you. And do me a favor, can you win a fucking game, please? Can you win a game? Just one. But Jim, what do you say we what do you say? Hold on. Before we do that, I just want to say this. Yo, Bieber was dealing the other night.
Did you see what their reliever did earlier today?
I didn't. I saw they won again.
2 innings.
didn't see that.
2 innings pitched in relief, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts.
Wow. That's phenomenal. No, that's what they need.
I mean, granted, for them it's extended spring training, except these games count right now.
I think the A's fans boycotting and staying in the parking lot was fucking genius.
It was absolutely hilarious that there were more people outside than there were inside.
Send that message.
They're
As long as
gone.
you're not paying for parking. Yeah, but they shouldn't be. It's ridiculous. But that's not all on the owner, though. Willie went through all this the last time we had him on. So, but Jim, what do you say we get to the hat trick and let's really break this sucker down now?
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
So the hat trick tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is actually one topic, but it is 3 different breakdowns, actually 6 different breakdowns, as we get into all 6 divisions, East, Central, and West in both leagues. But we're not going to break down everything. This is not going to be a blast. It's going to last us 2.5 hours, which is what we would need in order just to do the blast. So we're going to go through each division. We're going to give you players we think are going to come under the radar, somebody that's going to exceed expectations, and then one that's not going to be able to measure up. And then we'll do some predictions for each division. And because it's going to be easier to do about what we said, 15, 16 players.
Yep.
than 30 teams.
Yeah, it's you figure if you're doing 18 players
Yeah,
as opposed to 30 teams, and then a quick prediction at the end.
no, and that's a good move. So let's talk about. Let's start out west.
You want to start out west?
Yeah, because let's do our two divisions last.
Okay,
And
so
no,
let me find a Western division.
I apologize if I messed up something up for you. Spaghetti Western. I thought we were only doing shit like this with a translator.
I got to come up with
Most,
something clever.
and you're actually again very good at it. Most overhyped in the Western Division. It's got to be pick one of the guys from the fucking Dodgers. It, see, I'm going to say Ohtani for me personally, not because of the off the field stuff, and we'll obviously do more on that as more comes out. But it's a new league, it's new pitching. Yes, they've done interleague for a few years, where you're playing everybody, but I just think not that I think his numbers are going to take a step back. I think he's going to do basically what he did in LA, but he's not pitching. So there's no, look what he's doing on the mound and what he's doing here. He's not pitching. Side note, if I was the Dodgers, I'd make him the closer starting next year.
I went with Ohtani as well, but I kind of went the other way. I kind of basically teed it up that I don't think there's any way that he's going to be able to live up to that contract. In addition to playing in that lineup, that market, in the bigger section of that market, going from Anaheim to LA proper now, and then also all the off-field stuff. It's there's no, A-Rod did it when he went to New York. There's no way he could live up to that. All these major stars, when they go from one smaller market and they're gangbusters, they go to the larger market and they just don't measure up.
Yeah, no, and one thing I will say about A-Fraud, because I can't stand it. A-Rod did live up to the hype in New York. Unfortunately, A-Rod's time in New York was marred with that epic Warriors-like collapse in the 2004 LCS, as that was his first year in New York. Didn't get to a World Series till 2009, but that run to the World Series in 2009, they don't get there without A-Rod. So I will say he did live up to the hype. It took him a few years. He did win an MVP going that way. But yeah, Ohtani it's gonna be tough to live up to what he did in Anaheim.
He could still end up being, the end all be all with this. The Dodgers could end up, winning this whole thing, at least in terms of the signing and the transactional period, so to speak. But I don't think it's 2024. I think we're looking at 2025, 2026.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Underhyped, and this is going to be controversial, I think, to you. I think underhyped in the National League West is Mookie Betts. You're taking a Gold Glove MVP caliber player out of right field. You moved him to second base for the second half of last year, where he was the Gold Glove caliber MVP candidate, and now he's your everyday shortstop, and he's Gold Glove caliber MVP candidate. Yeah, Mookie Betts deserves more hype than Ohtani could ever possibly find. So that's my guy out there.
I went with Nolan Jones in Colorado. He was a 2020 guy last year. He's 6'4", 195 pounds, and he's only 25. And Colorado's kind of in that, they tried, last year with the Chris Bryant thing, and went heavy on the vets. Now it's Colorado retooling a little bit. And again, at only 25 years old, at 6'4", 195, if he puts on a little bit of weight as his body kind of fills out now that he's in the majors like that as a first baseman, just watch his numbers just grow out there in Coors Canaveral.
Yeah, no, he's a good one too. The one thing I'll say about Nolan Jones is the other thing he's got to do is he's got to stop striking out. He strikes out a bunch.
Yes.
And again, that's most people who play at Coors because they're trying to hit the ball in the air. But yeah, if he brings those down, he's a first baseman?
Yes.
Yeah, if he brings those down, he can play some decent first base. I can see them being one of those guys that could make a big jump. And it's year 2? Did he come up at the end of 22?
the end of
and
22.
then play
Yes.
23. Okay, really for a second full season, I can see him making a nice big jump. Who do you think's deserving of the hype?
Zach Gallen, without question. I think
Really?
I think he's the best player in the division. I think Arizona doesn't get to the World Series without the way that Zach Gallen turned it on at the end of last year, down the stretch, and then naturally in the playoffs. Now, granted, they did come up short just because they hit, Texas being that juggernaut that they were, in the close games, and then it was David versus Goliath, and David's got no shot in that in the World Series. But I think Zach Gallen is. I don't think he's quite at Cy Young, but he's definitely all-star caliber, and he's definitely going to be, you know, he's going to be the forefront of that rotation again. I could see the Diamondbacks given LA a bit of a challenge this year, not kind of so much jumping ahead, for predictions towards the end of the segment. But I think Zach Gallen's going to be a very big part of that.
No, he's great. I love Zach Gallen. I love the fact that he can command 4 pitches in the zone, which is amazing to me. But my deserving the hype is also in Arizona, but I'm going to go with last year's Rookie of the Year and Corbin Carroll. I just think he's going to get better and better and better. I will go out and say this. He might be the best left fielder in the National League already.
And let's talk about the best thing that's going on with Arizona right now is not only coming off a pennant, but bringing back the teal.
Did they?
Yes.
Thank
teal,
God.
It's now the sand is gone, so now it's red, black, and teal.
That's wonderful. They need to bring the fucking purple back. Like the Randy Johnson era uniforms.
Nice, but all those Arizona teams out there, the Cardinals, the Coyotes, they all wear that red and sand combination. Phoenix is the only one that doesn't.
And they wear the purple.
They wear purple and orange, but I mean they've also been around longer than any of those other teams.
I'm surprised they don't have more snake-like colors.
The red and black, maybe the copperhead.
I meant the Suns.
Okay.
Did you get it? What? You still haven't given me the other stuff off the goddamn thing yet.
So what, are you going to take me to court? Let's shift over to the American League. Let's actually head out west. Who's your overhyped Marvel in the American League West?
I'm going to have to go controversial here. And I'm going to go Julio Rodriguez. Not that I don't love him, because I do. He's not Junior. He'll never be Junior. He's proven in the last 2 home run derbies he's a great BP hitter. But when there are men on base, his average runners in scoring position has not been very good. This is a team that has good pitching on both the rotation and the bullpen. Even though I don't know why they traded Robbie Ray back to Arizona. But they have good pitching, bullpen, and rotation. They have a good lineup. But with him being the centerpiece, I don't see Seattle going back to the postseason this year. So the overhyped, I'd have to go Julio Rodriguez, to be very honest with you. And I hate saying it, but if you look at the division, there's not a ton of marquee players left in the American League West. You can't really say any of the guys in Texas are overhyped. They're coming off a championship where there wasn't one player who did it all. They all contributed in that line.
Right.
So I got to go with Julio.
I'm going to go a little controversial here because he wasn't in this division last year. I'm going to go Josh Hader out of Houston. 33 saves in San Diego, and now he goes to a hitter's park where Tosh actually hit a drop 5 almost over the train on a hit tracks with momentum. What's the old analogy? I could piss over that fence. Well, if he's got 33 saves in a hitter's park like San Diego, what do you think he's going to do in Houston now that you could bunt the ball for a double over in that park, it seems.
I think he's going to do about the same, 30 to 35, which is great. But remember, he doesn't have to do it all himself. They still have Ryan Presley.
They do, but for as much hype as there was around Josh Hader, um, he saved 33 games for a San Diego team that finished fourth.
Again, you're talking to a guy whose team finished almost dead last too. It's still Hader's stuff will translate. Whereas, how many home runs did he give up? Not many.
Right.
He's a slingshot lefty who keeps the ball down in the zone. In that ballpark, that'll play. Where I see a problem is if you leave a slider out and you got a good low ball right-handed hitter on the other team, they're just going to golf it into the Crawford boxes and be done with it.
I also think it's something to do with the humidity. I don't think he's going to be able to keep the ball down as much in Houston, even with the retractable roof.
It's possible. His slider's very down, but his four-seamer can fly up. Excuse me. And if you get somebody who can time him, yeah, that could be a problem.
Who's your underhyped in the AL West?
Mike Trout.
Really?
Mike Trout. I'm telling you, I got a feeling.
A former two-time MVP is under.
Who no one talks about anymore. Who no one talks about anymore. Did you see what he did in the third pitch he saw this year?
I haven't seen any baseball highlights at all. I haven't even.
He put Corbin Burns
Guardians highlights yet.
He put Corbin Burns into the back bullpen in Baltimore. Corbin Burns proceeded to give up nothing thereafter. But yeah, tried third pitch, and I just got a feeling about him this year, Jim. He's been hurt a bunch. He's been overshadowed by Ohtani for the last couple of years. I just got a feeling about him.
I could definitely see that. I could now that he's actually doesn't now that he, but even with Ohtani leaving, that could go one of two ways. Is if he could stay healthy, he doesn't have the pressure of Ohtani hitting behind him now. But that's the other thing. Now he doesn't have the safety blanket of Ohtani hitting behind him.
Ohtani never hit behind him.
He hit in front of him.
Ohtani hit in front of him.
Right, but still, it's either way. It's now, one of those guys isn't there, so your safety blanket's not gone anymore. So now you realize if you can't pitch to Ohtani, if you pitch around Ohtani, you have to pitch to Trout. Now or if you pitch to Ohtani, you can actually you can do whatever you want with Trout. That's cut out of the equation now.
I see your point. He's still got Brandon Drury. He still has the right fielder who looks like him. What is his name? Oh.
Mickey Moniak?
No, not Moniak.
Taylor Ward?
Taylor Ward. He's still got some protection. Is it Shohei Ohtani? No, it's not. But he doesn't have guys who are terrible slouches behind him. So my underhyped is Mike Trout. I got a feeling.
Brent Rooker from the Oakland Athletics.
See their closer?
No. Rooker hit 30 bombs last year in front of nobody in that pitcher-friendly park.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Rooker, I think, is what's going to be – I don't think the A's are going to be historically as bad as last year, regardless of what their stadium situation looks like. And if anybody wants to show up, Brent Rooker is going to put on a show this year.
That's a good pick. That's one I can't argue with either. How about deserving for you?
Julio Rodriguez.
Really? We're going – okay.
He does strike out a ton, but he is every bit as good as it is. His average and his OBP took a little bit of a slide, but his doubles, his RBIs, his walks, his home runs all improved in his second season last year.
Again, I went with my gut on this. I went no numbers on this thing. Deserving of the hype for me, and it pains me to say it, Corey Seager. Corey Seager, who MLB Network has as the number one shortstop in the game, of course. Your former guy, my guy now, is number two to them. You can't argue with a guy who's got 2 rings and 2 World Series MVPs. Maybe one of the biggest home runs in franchise history in Game 1 last year. He's a 25 to 30 home run guy who could win you a Gold Glove and play shortstop every day. Corey Seager, for me, is deserving of the hype.
So who do we think is going to be? We're not going to go 1 through 5 out of these divisions as we've got about 3 minutes left. Who do we actually think is going to be playoff caliber? Not so much who could win it, but who's going to be there? Who's going to be at the top? Who's going to be near the bottom?
Same two as the last year in the American League West. I think Houston and Texas both get in. And I'd be hard-pressed not to say the same two in the NL West. The Arizona and the Dodgers both get in. I'll be honest with you. I think 3 teams are coming out of the National League East. I really do. Like it has for the last couple of years. But I think both teams in the American League, National League West and American League West can repeat and get back there this year.
Yeah, I don't see San Francisco with some of the roster changes being as competitive as they have been in recent years. Colorado's not there yet. San Diego is going to be the career underachiever at this particular point. Their window's closed. I personally feel so. Yeah, I'm very hard pressed to agree, hard pressed to disagree with the Dodgers and the Snakes, and I think the Snakes make it a lot closer than last year. I don't think the Dodgers are going to run and hide.
I think they're going to run and hide. With Walker Buehler back, a healthy Kershaw at the back end of the rotation, Tyler Glasnow in that rotation now, that's tough.
It is tough, but we say the same thing when the Yankees go out and try and buy super teams, or the Red Sox do, and they don't run and hide. And
yeah, but there's something.
I think with what Arizona did last year, I think the Snakes are going to sneak up on a lot of people this year, because now they've actually got most of that core back, and they're going to start progressing a little bit more. Take that team, make it a cohesive unit, bring them mostly back, and give them another year coming off of that momentum.
I see that. I can see that. The reason I say the Dodgers could run and hide, and you're talking about buying the super teams, you got to remember, though, the Dodgers with the super team stuff are top heavy. The Betts, the Freeman, the Ohtani, bringing in Glasnow. You got to remember, though, the Dodgers filled the rest of that team with their system. Will Smith came through their system. Max Muncy came through their system. Will Lutz, the second baseman, used to be shortstop, came through their system. A good portion of their bullpen and their rotation came through their system. So they do both.
American League West?
Houston and Texas, although I think it flips this year. I think the Rangers win the American League West.
I think we start to see Houston slide back a little bit.
That's why I think Houston ends up a wild card this year.
I think they're a wild card, but I think that they're clinging on and might need the final week to get in.
Tell you what, actually, you know what? Now that you mention that, just Texas. Just Texas. Just the Rangers. Because I'm going to surprise you in a minute.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice. I'm sick of the fucking Astros.
Where do we want to head next, Michael?
Why don't we talk about, you know what, let's leave the Central for last, since we always usually leave the East for last because I never shut up about the goddamn Mets. We'll talk about the Gardos last. Let's go to the Eastern Division. Eastbound and Breakdown. Which one is that one?
St. Louis. It's the only Central one I think I have on here.
We're doing the East.
Oh, crap. Well, it'll whatever. I'll throw an Eastern team in for the Central.
Okay. Most overhyped.
Most overhyped. Are we going National League or American?
Let's go American League.
Juan Soto,
Thank God.
without question. I mean, I understand they're actually trying to put together, Mantle, Gehrig, Maris. They're trying to put together Murderers Row, and it's going to be, and this could be the rebound year, but there's no way I think Juan Soto mixes with this.
Soto's talent will, and I was going to say Soto as well for a different reason. There are too many dumbass Yankee fans and too many people in the media who are saying he's going to hit 55, he's going to do this, that's not his game. Juan Soto's at his best when he is driving a ball to left center field to Death Valley. So he may hit 330, but he won't, if he hits 50 bombs, that's the worst thing you can have because now he's out of his swing, he's out of his rhythm, and come October when you're not facing bullshit pitching, he's not going to be able to perform.
And that's part of the other reason that I said the same thing for Soto is that he hits tons of bombs, but he's going to get lost in the shuffle. If he goes out and hits 50, 55 bombs, what's Aaron Judge going to hit? Because Judge is your cleanup hitter who's expected to hit 50 to 60.
Judge is hitting lead off.
So they're trying. So they've made Judge basically Brady Anderson at that particular point, and then you've also got who's the third one in that group?
Stanton.
So I get that there's more than one ball, but you've got to pitch around some guys. You can't walk and put every single one of these guys on base.
You don't need to pitch around them. You need to throw sliders. Giancarlo Stanton, he's in his greatest shape, and he's doing this. His pitch recognition is shit, and he can't help but swing at balls at his fucking ankles. He's been doing it for 10 years.
To quote somebody who we hope gets onto a major league roster, doors or folded.
Exactly. I'm Soto as well. I like the move for the Yankees. I think it was a move they had to make to shut their fan base up. But I don't think, first of all, Steve Cohen's going to throw a boatload of money at him, and the Steinbrenners aren't Steinbrenners anymore. But no, I like that move for them.
Most underhyped in the American League East.
I'm going to go Rafael Devers, the third baseman from Boston. He gets lost in the shuffle because the Red Sox have been shit. This is a 25 to 30, 95 to 100 RBI, 275 to 300, play great defense. He deserves a lot more pub than he gets. And he's the one they picked to stay because they let, what's his name, from San Diego, Bogarts. They let Bogarts walk. They traded Mookie Betts. They re-signed Rafael Devers. So he deserves more pub than he gets. A lot more.
Phil Maton from the Tampa Bay Rays, 74 strikeouts in relief last year. For a relief pitcher, that's a lot.
It is. Right-handed?
Yes.
Kind of bring it to the ear like a catcher? Yeah, that ball Alonso hit off of him still hasn't fucking landed yet.
Yeah, I know the Guardians had him a couple of years ago for a cup of coffee, but I think that's actually what cost Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year was their middle relief. And I think Phil Maton is going to be, he's certainly not your closer, but he's a very, very good quality setup guy that, you come in, you get an inning or two out of him. He's going to get at least 1 to 2 strikeouts per appearance.
No, he will. The thing is, if his slider flattens, it goes a long way. So you got to watch that with him. You got to watch the break.
They've got a couple more years playing inside of climate control, so that's something that he could probably adjust because you don't have to worry about humidity and elements.
That's true. But no, that's not bad. I like that pick too. Who's deserving of the hype for you, Jim?
Adley freaking Rushman.
Amen. You don't even need to explain it.
I think Adley Rushman could get possible MVP consideration this year. I think he's that good.
I'll go one better. He's the best catcher in baseball.
Oh, I don't even, it's him and everybody else. He's UConn, everybody else is the field.
Agreed. I'm going to go away from him because I was going to say him, you dick. And
we both said Soto.
But Soto's so easily overhyped for this. As far as deserving of the hype in American League East, I'm going with Vladdy Jr. You want to talk about?
I mean, it's your 1A, 1B. They're on the podium. It's just all a matter of which order you want to put them in.
Exactly, and I think Vladdy's going to have. Vladdy's breakout moment was the home run derby in 2019. I think Vladdy's going to have his breakout season this year.
We all know because the East Coast usually gets a lot, I mean, especially that division with the way that the Rays have come on in recent years and, Toronto seeming to be on the cusp. And of course, you've got Red Sox and Yankees, and now Baltimore's turned into the class of that division, in the last couple of years. Put your players on the podium. Who's basically your I don't, and I'm not going to make you order them, but who's going to be your top five in that division in no particular order?
Judge, Vladdy, Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Randy Arozarena.
I was just thinking of Rosarena. I was thinking the exact same guy. As a matter of fact, I had pretty much all of those guys as well.
The one we're missing is Devers, obviously, who we talked about. Another one that we could talk about down the line, as much as it pains me to say it, is Anthony Volpe, the shortstop for the Yankees. He's so good. He's so good. And I hate that team.
Yeah, everybody does. It's just been so nice when they've actually come back down to earth, and remember, they haven't won a World Series in over a decade.
It's been 15 years.
Let's head out to the National League East now. Michael, you're most overhyped.
Ronald Acuna Jr. I don't think he's going to do 40 and 70 again. So the buildup he's getting to do it again, it shouldn't be there. Is he going to go 30-30, maybe even 40-40? Probably. He ain't stealing 70 bags again. No. And if he does, I'd say hats off, but it itches too damn bad. I can't wear it. You can even see where it's coming off. But yeah, no, Acuna for me. And again, I'm not taking a shot because he's with the Braves, who already have injury issues, by the way, because Sean Murphy's on the DL or the IL, excuse me, with an oblique injury. For a catcher, that's going to be a good chunk of the season. Not that they don't have a good backup in Travis d'Arnaud. He's not Sean Murphy. But yeah, no, I think it's Acuna. And I think it's Acuna because of how good he was last year. What you got?
I'm almost wondering if I should mute your mic.
Why?
You know who I'm going to say.
You're going to say Lindor.
I'm going to say Francisco Lindor. He hits a ton, but his strikeout numbers the last 2 years, 133 and 137. You pay him to get on base. You do not pay him to take strike three.
No, agreed. And I am with you 100%. The only backlash I'll give you, you don't have to mute my mic because I get it. The only backlash I'll give you is you pay him to play Gold Glove defense, which he does. He goes 30 and 100 every year. 130 strikeouts, and I'm going to say this, and it bothers me because I was a pitcher. 130 strikeouts right now isn't a lot. If you look at all the players who are in the upper echelon, 130 is not a lot. No one's Tony Gwynn anymore, dude.
Yeah, but the thing is his previous years were in the 70s, and then it climbed to 90, and then from I want to say it was 97 in 21 after the pandemic to jumping to 133. And now granted, 21 was an abbreviated year, but that's a lot of strikeouts in the last 3 years. I mean, just for the strikeouts to jump 40 in the course of 1 year with a full season schedule and then stay that high. And the year before the pandemic, he was down in the 70s.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's a lot of strikeouts. It annoys me too. God knows it annoys me to no end. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Most
That he's-
underhyped.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Francisco Alvarez, the catcher for the Mets, what he did last year as a rookie, you're talking about handling a full veteran pitching staff. You're talking about catching every day. He hit 25 bombs, drove in about 80 runs. He already went deep today and drove in the first 2 runs of the game. He's going to play every day. He's going to play more than he did last year because he didn't really come up till May. How many catchers in the league right now are going to hit 35 bombs? Besides Adley.
Yeah.
Him. He's going to hit 35 bombs. He's got a cannon for an arm. I said this before. If he's 80% of what Mike Piazza gave the Mets are in good fucking shape. He's going to be 90% of what Mike Piazza gave the Mets because he's going to be able to play better defense. So I have Francisco Alvarez there. I love this kid. I absolutely adore this kid.
Alex is going to love me for this. Jake Berger from the Miami Marlins.
Nice.
He's already got 5 RBIs in the first 3 games, and his offensive numbers skyrocketed last year coming over from the White Sox. And the White Sox were garbage, and that is not a very friendly hitter's park. Miami is, and I think with the fact of Miami being as competitive as they were last year, give him another year in that scenario, let them develop a little bit more and kind of adjust to the National League style, so to speak, even though we know that the DH is universal now. But I think this could be a breakout year for Jake Berger.
That's a good one. I like him too. The pain in the Mets ass when he got over here too. As far as my deserving of the hype, it's going to pain me to say this, but it's Bryce Harper, who just keeps getting better and better, and it makes me fucking sick.
And think of this: is that the injury's healed. He could play first base this year.
Well, I mean, he played first base most of last year.
Yeah, but that was also them easing him back in after TJ. Now he's got a full year of that, so he's basically can be back to where he was prior to TJ.
Yeah, he's gonna, dude, and that bandbox that he plays into, man. I mean, he's gonna be so good. He's gonna have a huge year. So yeah, I got Bryce Harper deserving of every bit of hype he gets. Who you got?
Acuna, point blank. He's
Okay.
the best player on the most consistent National League team over the last 3 years. He's the reigning MVP. He's not going to put up last year's numbers, but you don't need him to. As loaded as they are, and granted, Philadelphia is the one that came out of that division when the dust all settled. When the playoffs shook down and everything. I get that the Braves have ducked out of the playoffs early the last 2 years after their championship a couple of years ago. Regardless of what he does, whether he could be Lindor or Judge or whoever you want to talk about overhyped, getting once the playoffs come around and how they fold like a cheap card table in a hurricane. I think Ronald Acuna is, for my money, he's one of the 3 best players in baseball.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. Jim, who do you like in the American League East? Do you think more than one team gets to the playoffs, or you got?
I am not sold on um I'm not sold on Toronto. Um I think Baltimore is I don't think Baltimore has a slump and comes back. Um there's also part of me that doesn't think that the Yankees could be there, but they're not going to run and hide with this. And I think Boston's coming back to form. This is the American League East. I think top to bottom is the most competitive division in baseball. Um, I could see up to three. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I could see up to three getting in, but it's a crapshoot. Could the Yankees overtake Baltimore? Could they put together that kind of run? Could Tampa Bay come back to form? I think Toronto is the only one that doesn't have distinct playoff aspirations right now in there. I think that they're a just slightly under 500 team.
Okay. I disagree, and I'm going to show you what I think. I think
That was
four of
last
the I know. I think four of the teams in in the American League East have a very good shot at getting in, and I think three of them will. Um, I think the Yankees get back in. I think Baltimore gets back in, and I think Toronto gets in. Tampa may be the left out team.
And we think the Red Sox are probably a year away.
A year away. In the National League East, Braves are going to run and fucking hide, man. They are going to run and fucking hide, and then they're going to get blown out in Philadelphia in early October. Again. I have three teams coming out of the National League East as well. I have the Braves. I had the Phillies. And I didn't do because of the sunburn and everything else going on, I did not do the big weekend Mets preview. I do have the Mets getting in. And it was the signing of JD Martinez to lengthen that lineup. That tells me they can get in. They can slug their. Are they going to make noise? Probably not. Their pitching is not anywhere near where it needs to be. We forgot about something in the National League West. Arizona signed Jordan Montgomery.
Yes.
To go with Zach Gallen. Wow, Arizona's good. Sorry. I got three teams in the same three teams from 2022 come out of the National League East.
I got three in the West, but I think it's going to come down to the Mets or the Marlins because we all know that the Nats are dog shit.
It's
I think that if this is not me throwing shade, but I think with as bad as last year was for your Mets and the way that they unloaded everything, yes, they did retool, but the problem is they're trying to retool with younger talent at the same time that Miami's making progress with their own young talent. So I think it's
absolutely
a bit of catch up here.
No, I agree with you. Here's where I think the Marlins fall a little short. There's a little bit of discord in the clubhouse with what Jazz was running his mouth about. Two, their rotation has been very injury prone. Sandy hasn't been. Sandy's a workhorse, but Sandy hasn't been the same since he won the Cy Young 2 years ago. And Luzardo is too much of a question mark for me. So I think the Mets gang of mediocrity will end up being better than the Marlins having the two-headed monster at the top, because the two-headed monster has been consistent enough to be called a two-headed monster yet.
I think that's probably the more entertaining race of I mean, that actually could end up being more entertaining of which of those two teams goes third and fourth in that division, as opposed to where some of the other teams are going to finish 1 and 2.
I agree with you. I don't think it's written in stone that Philly finishes second, only because Philly is an older team who has everybody's like, oh, their bullpen's so great. No, their bullpen had a great run last year. They lost Craig Kimbrell. Craig Kimbrell's in Baltimore. And apparently throws a changeup now. He struck out Bryson Stott with a changeup in spring training. Bryson Stott stared his ass down.
Did he bitch at him like Sim?
He just looked at him like you want to throw the bat at him. It's like, you motherfucker, you didn't throw one changeup in a year here, you bastard. So let's get to the Central, the final division. That's the Garden.
Huh?
That's the Garden.
That's the Garden. I told you,
Well,
I did a Central one on accident for the East. I'll do an Eastern one for the Central.
Most overhyped. Can I say the St. Louis Cardinals front office and manager?
Yeah, John Mozeliak, man. Talk about
Is there
tear down from a team that went from wild card and then swept out to dead last when three players retired.
Yeah, no, it's
on
ridiculous.
the back end of their career.
Yeah, they have no leadership in that clubhouse, and that's with Arenado and Goldschmidt out on that team.
I think the teardown of the Cardinals started, and we're not picking Mozeliak on purpose here. It's it kind of fits, but I mean he's definitely not. We're just spitballing here, but I think the teardown of the Cardinals started when Harrison Bader got moved.
Met fans love him, by the way. Dude's got a big old fucking beard now. No, I agree with you. Bader's move scratched too many heads. Now, Jordan Montgomery was very good, but that's drawing a lot of heads. But in all seriousness, most overhyped in the Central, Nicholas Morel, the second baseman. I don't think he's as good as people think he is. He's going to hit home runs. He doesn't play good defense. He strikes out too much. I think he's just the guy who's a little overhyped there.
Gary Sanchez.
He DH for Milwaukee today.
He's done. He hit 19 homers last year, but he's now into journeyman status. He's basically now your one-year deal pass around. He's now entered Carlos Santana territory.
Oh.
That he'll come in, he'll contribute, but if you're expecting him to be, and this is why I call him overhyped, he will contribute, but he is not going to contribute where he was, all world like you thought he was 5 years ago. He's now basically a hired gun as filler for 100 games.
If that. Underhyped, I'm going to go to Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say O'Neal Cruz.
That's a good pick.
He was hurt, but now he's on a mission, and that Pirates team looks good.
And Pirates, baseball is better when Pittsburgh is competitive.
Yeah.
This is not like a homer here, but Brendan Donovan out of the St. Louis Cardinals.
I like him.
He's got an OBP of 394 in 22 and was OBP of 365 in 23. The boy gets on base, which you need to do in that division.
I agree. No, I like Donovan. Deserving of the hype. Who you got?
Spencer Steer from Cincinnati. As much as everyone talks about Ellie De La Cruz, Spencer Steer hit 23 home runs last year. He's only 26. And if De La Cruz falls back a little bit, it's now going to be Ohtani and Trout scenarios that you're going to have to pitch to one of them. You can't pitch to them both. So people are going to be pitching around De La Cruz, which means Spencer Steer's numbers are only going to go up.
Yes. Deserving of the hype for me. Yeah, why not? I'm going to go Dansby. Dansby Swanson. I mean, he is just consistent. He is every day at shortstop, playing Gold Glove defense, hitting 25 bombs a year, hitting 285, 290. driving in 100 runs. I mean, he was the centerpiece of that Cubs team that came out of nowhere last year to even contend anywhere.
He's got a World Series ring. He's a World Series MVP.
Yeah,
I mean, guys, it's the same thing like what we had with Corey Seager. It's
yeah,
wherever he goes, he's a winner, especially when the calendar turns.
yeah. No, I agree. I love him, and I hated him for years, but I love him now. Um, I only think one team from the Central gets in, though, Jim. I don't think. I think the National League East is too stacked, and I think the top end of the West is too stacked. So you're talking one team from the Central gets in. Um, I'm going to make Alex mad. I'm going to say it's the Cubs.
I think, whereas we talked about the American League East is the most competitive division in baseball, I think the National League Central is the worst division in baseball. I think, I think Pittsburgh is coming. I think the Cubs are not nearly as good as people think that they are. I think that Cincinnati caught lightning in a bottle last year, and let's see what happens. I think the Brewers could potentially be there, and who am I missing?
Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago, St. Louis,
Yeah, and I think St. Louis is it.
Milwaukee.
I think just like last year, I think the Cardinals are dog shit.
Does that hurt you to say that?
Little bit, but they did nothing. No, I think St. Louis is going to be as bad as they are, not for who they did bring in, it's who they didn't get rid of, and that was Ollie Marmol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas you heard Alex yelling for years, why are the White Sox hanging on to Ozzie Guillen or whatnot? That's the biggest head scratcher for all the managerial moves that were made, and a lot of them that are going to end up turning out being successful. I think um, Stephen Vogt, Craig Counsell, um, I think Ali Marmol. I don't know if even though it's going to be his second year, I don't know if his job's going to be safe by the end of the year if they actually come out of the chute that bad.
I mean, time will tell. I just don't like the way he got to keep his job after last year.
Here's what I think is going to happen is that Mozeliak is going to stick to his guns so much that he's not going to fire Marmol so early that he's going to try and make the thing work, kind of like he's going to basically be the baseball equivalent of Gary Bettman trying to make the Coyotes relevant in the deserts and just move on and cut your losses.
Yeah. So that's our breakdown. That was pretty quick.
We got one more to go.
Oh, the American League Central. That's true.
You're most overhyped in the American League Central.
Can I say anyone from Minnesota?
You could.
Anybody from Minnesota. They're going to come back to earth. And I'll stay with Byron Buxton. I think this is one of those years he's going to spend most of the year in the IL.
That's a decent pick I could see, but I'm going to actually go a little bit different. I'm going to go from not who's on top and coming back down. It's who's underneath and looking to come back up. I'm going to go Jack Flaherty in Detroit. I think his best days are way, way, way behind him, and I think the Tigers are putting way too much stock as to what they can get out of Jack Flaherty, as are a lot of other people.
Well, I mean, is he starting or is he in the bullpen?
I think he's starting.
Yeah, I think he's done too. Underhyped, I want to lead that one off and say Bobby Witt Jr. Oh my God, he's so good. He's so good.
They've got so much good young talent with that Kansas City team. Now it's just all a matter of, putting it together properly. Kind of, you're hoping that they can actually be now what the Blue Jays were the last 3 years.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Who's your underhyped?
I'm going to stay in Kansas City, and I'm going to go Hunter Renfroe. 20 home runs last year with Cincinnati, and he may hit more this year in that bandbox.
Yeah. No, Renfro's a good pick too. I like him.
I think that was one of the more underrated free agent signings that slipped under the radar. Not a whole lot of people talked about this one.
No, they didn't. I
Just
mean,
because
he's
Renfro hitting 20 bombs with Votto and De La Cruz and Steer. Um, I think that's going to make a lot more waves in Kansas City than people give it credit for.
I do too. I like Renfro as a player. I've liked Renfro as a player for a few years now. Nice pick, Jim.
Thank you.
Deserving of the hype. I have a feeling we're both going to Cleveland for that one.
I know who you're going to say.
Who am I going to say?
You're going to say Jose Ramirez,
No, I'm not.
Shane Bieber.
No.
If you say Clase, I'm cutting your mic.
No.
Okay. Ahmed Rosario.
Andres Jimenez. Rosario's with the fucking Yankees.
Oh,
Oh no, he's with the.
There's so many of it. It's a revolving door anymore.
I know, but it's Andres Jimenez.
Did you see the throw that he made from second last night?
No.
Diving back towards the bag, snagged it, and in one motion popped up and threw. He actually pulled Fry to the over the foul line to be able to make the outs. And Fry somehow kept his foot on the bag, going to the outside of the bag.
Jesus. Let me give you a comparison, and you're going to be floored when I say it. When I see Andres Jimenez play second base in Cleveland, I close my eyes, and it's 1995, and I'm watching Omar Vizquel.
At short and flipping to Carlos by Erga.
Yeah, no. When I watch Andres, I see Omar. And we don't talk about his defense a lot because he's going to hit 300. He's going to hit 15 to 20 bombs. He's going to drive in 75 to 80 runs. He's going to get on base at a near 400 clip. He won a Gold Glove last year, right?
He won a Platinum Glove last year.
Yeah.
I
see Omar.
You know what's funny is that give it midway through the season, you're going to probably start seeing Andres and Brian Rocchio start getting those Omar and Carlos vibes, or even going back to who's the short going back to Lindor and Kipnis.
Okay. Hey, did you off topic Kipnis? He coached against one of the high school teams from Northeast Ohio that was down in Florida playing.
I saw something about that.
I thought that was pretty cool. So who's your deserving?
You're not going to like it. Max Kepler, even though he only hit 100, even though he only hit 260, he's got a 332 on base percentage. And in Minnesota, they pay you to get on base. Minnesota's not going to hit a whole lot of home runs, but Minnesota definitely can play a little bit more small ball. It's because I think that's where some of these teams are starting to lean anymore. But I think Max Kepler is well deserving of everything in there. I know he's not Jose Ramirez, but I think he's damn good.
No, I like Kepler. Kepler might be the one player on that team I do like. So who's coming out of the Central?
This is such a crapshoot because I think Minnesota comes back down, but I don't think Detroit is ready to take that next step. And I think the Guardians, there's too much uncertainty. I think the White Sox are still abysmal, and I think Kansas City's coming up, but Kansas City's got a year or two to go. So I could think Detroit. I think the Guardians have the talent, but I think there's too much turnover with the leadership. Let's see what happens by June or July. I think it'd be nice, but I'm starting to think Detroit a little bit.
I'm going to be a homer. I think the Guardians come out of it. I think the best thing they could have seen was Shane Bieber beat lights out on opening day. because it's just going to build the confidence. And that's what happened in 22. They got some big wins early. They started building the confidence. And it took them right to literally the Yankees bitching out, and they would have been in the LCS.
And then also think of all the great young talent that they had with the come up in the rotation after a lot of those guys went down. You got Bybee, you got Logan Allen that came up, you got Hunter Gaddis, Tim. Uh, that's not right. But you had those three guys come up. You got Nick Sandlin and Kate Smith was the one who actually threw the 5 strikeouts today.
Okay.
Clase still, if Clase can get his blown save numbers down from a year ago, where he was one off the major league record, even though he led the majors in saves, I think that's going to be the keys because the Guardians still cannot hit the long ball outside of really Josh Naylor. I think there's all the potential of playing small ball, but let's see what Steven does. I think the Guardians are going to be very good defensively, even after breaking off Gold Glover Miles Straw. But the problem is Miles Straw could not hit himself out of a wet paper bag that had a hole in it already.
Not a Miles Straw guy, huh?
Good guy, good locker room guy, good character guy, good leader. You got to be able to hit.
Agreed.
Got to be able to hit when your center fielder. There's your center fielder. Typically, one of your speedster outfielders is your leadoff guy. Your center fielder should not be hitting at the bottom of your order because he can't hit for shit. It's Willie Mays Hayes syndrome. Whereas Mike Hargrove was the human rain delay, Miles Straw is the human rally killer. He hit into more double plays or more flyouts with runners in scoring positions than I think anybody in baseball last year to kill rallies. And that's why the Guardians did not win that division last year, was the injuries to the bullpen. The injuries to the starting rotation, Clase not being able to close out, and Miles Straw killing rallies.
That's rough. That's rough. So, do you have one team coming out of the Central or two?
I got one. I think
Okay.
I think we said that we're getting 3 out of the East because of how damn good it is. And I think that the Central right now is one tier above the NL Central, whereas a couple of years ago the Centrals were the best divisions in baseball. They're easily the most mediocre. Remember, there was a point where we were unsure if the Twins were going to win the division and get over 500.
That's true.
By the time the smoke cleared.
That's true. So, long way to go. We got 2 games in for just about everybody. Some have 3, like the Gardos. But this is going to be a fun year, I got a feeling. I'll be on here every day.
It's going to be funny. The Guardians home opener, they actually had to push back an hour or 2 because it's falling
for the eclipse.
Because of the eclipse.
Well, let me just jump into the schedule real quick because we'll have something to talk about. I think it's next month. It is not.
There were only 38-37 at the A's game yesterday and 54-25 today.
Well, the week of my parents' wedding anniversary, my best friend's wedding anniversary, and the week before Caitlin turns 23, on May 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the New York Mets will be at Progressive Field to play the Cleveland Guardians.
My birthday weekend.
That's right.
You want to take a guess without looking who's pitching for the Gardos tomorrow to close out the series against the A's?
Don't know.
Cookie.
Is a Cookie good? Good for Cookie.
And then there are 3 in Seattle, 3 in Minnesota, and then finally the home opener.
Jesus. Did they do that because they were doing the renovations on the stadium?
I think that's part of it. I think the stadium's pretty much done though.
I thought so too.
We
I thought
also
so too.
got fortunate that we didn't get buried with snow the last couple of years. It's been colder and rainier. That stuff done.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say just to you and I talking outside of this. I know you guys didn't the fall of the stuff from up north wasn't that bad. And I say it like that because it comes across from Canada most times. So what do you say we hit halftime, and then we get into the blast and the translator, and we close it up early tonight?
Yeah, it's we got some basketball we got to watch, and then so we've all of us got some sort of plans tomorrow.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, so we'll see you guys within the next 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
And welcome back.
Welcome back.
Little topping off. Never hurt anybody.
No, I had some little snackaroo at the same time.
I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten anything. I had a fillet of fish yesterday, and that was about it.
Really?
I didn't really eat much today at all. It was just sit back and play nothing but Warframe, and then like ran out real quick, like about an hour and a half before we went live tonight, and then dinner with my mom tomorrow. I got to run home and do laundry because I got a busier than hell week next week.
This is moving week, right?
Yeah, it's all, but I'm not going to be there Thursday, Friday when we move because I got a doctor's appointment over 2 days.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
No bueno.
Yeah. So got to get the last of whatever I have to in the next day or two. I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, we got stuff going on too. We got house prep tomorrow as well as Easter. My mother-in-law will be here on Tuesday, and then she's leaving on Saturday. So which obviously we mentioned this before. We will not be with you next Saturday because I will not be in the state next Saturday. I will be 2 hours south in Palm Coast. We'll be celebrating my father-in-law and Bobby's birthday next weekend. Is for everybody who's watched this from the beginning, Bobby will be 3 a week from Thursday. I just can't even fucking believe it, dude.
Just
Really?
remember, it's a phase. He'll grow out of it.
I never did.
What you, me, and Rice were talking about the other day.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
So pulling you guys back behind the curtain, it's you were Mike sent John and I a video of teaching Bobby how to say "Let's go Mets," and then Mike also said that when I say OH, he says IO, and I said, "Don't worry, he's young and impressionable. It's a phase. He'll grow out of it when he's old enough and smart enough to know better."
And you got that.
John agreed with me 2 against 1. That's I'm no math major, but that means we win.
Care. And by the way, the Let's Go Mets thing, I'm still doing it. I'm 45. My old man started it when I was younger than him. It's going to be ingrained. Oh, so what we got in the blast tonight, Jim?
We're down to 7 teams left in March Madness. We started with 68 a little under 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago. We are down to 7. By the time we go off the air, that is going to be at 6.
The Elite Eight's going on right now?
Yep. Right now, with 8 minutes left to go, it is number 4 Alabama with a 58-53 lead over number 6 Clemson. No, you did not do not adjust your sets in your channels here. That's a basketball score between those two perennial football powerhouses in the Elite Eight.
That's crazy. So let's talk about a couple of the games here. UConn beat the piss out of Illinois with a 30-0 run
in the second half. That was a 28-23 game at the half.
That's crazy.
That was a 5-point UConn lead, and then they proceed to go on a 30-0 run, essentially shortly out of the half.
That's crazy. Well, that's on the men's side. You see what we get in the Elite Eight in the women's side?
We get a rematch of last year's national championship game. We get
Angel
Reese and LSU against Caitlin Clark and Iowa.
That's going to be a good game.
Let's look ahead for tomorrow. We've actually got Purdue and Zach Edey going up against Tennessee in one game, and then we've got, and I talked about it on the Sports Note earlier tonight, we've got Duke going up against Cinderella North Carolina State, who has put together one of the most impressive postseason runs I've ever seen, or any of us ever have. We can talk all we want about Indiana's undefeated season in 74. North Carolina State lost 10 of their last 14 games to close the regular season. They've won 8 straight in the postseason. They went 5-0 through the ACC tournament. They were 10th in the ACC regular season, and now get a rematch against a Duke team that they bounced in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament a little over 2 weeks ago for the right to go to their first Final Four. I want to say in more than 2 decades.
Was Jimmy V the only one?
They've got 2 national championships. They won in 73, and then they won in 83.
83 was Jimmy V. So it's been 40 years.
41 years.
Yeah. So let's break this down. I would like no disrespect to the Duke fan I'm sitting here in front of. I want to see NC State go to the Final Four. Just for the sheer story.
I would like to see it. Pop quiz, over or under on the number of double-digit seeds that have ever made the Final Four, and I'm going to put it at 3.
Under.
6.
Really?
They would become the 5th number 11 seed to make the Final Four and the 6th overall.
Wow.
Matter of fact, the irony is that when North Carolina State knocked off Marquette yesterday, Marquette's head coach is Shaka Smart, who took VCU to the Final
as a
Four
number 11.
As an 11 seed.
Does Tennessee get out of this? Or, Purdue get out of this tomorrow?
With the way that Zach Edey is showing up as the tournament's getting later, I don't know how you're going to stop him. I think the only team right now that's got a chance to knock off Purdue is UConn. Because right now it's UConn and it's everybody else, which is so rare that you see a team playing this well going for a repeat. Stan Van Gundy said it on the broadcast, on the CBS broadcast, as they were celebrating and getting the ladder out for Dan Hurley to start cutting down the nets. This just wasn't this wasn't demolition of what they did to Illinois. It was dismantling.
Yeah, that's bad. Bad.
UConn is just, looking over my bracket, sure, they beat the hell out of Stetson. They beat the hell out of Northwestern. They beat the hell out of San Diego State. And they beat the living tar out of Illinois. And they get the winner of this Alabama-Clemson game next weekend down in Phoenix. What do you think they're going to do to one of those teams? Here's a little bit of trivia. UConn has now made their 7th Final Four. They've got 5 championships in 6 previous attempts. Their only loss was the 2009 national semifinal to Michigan State.
Really? Was that Izzo's second title?
Yes. And that was Draymond's freshman year.
Oh, wow. Speaking of March Madness and runs to the Final Four and championships, congratulations to Syracuse legend Jerry McNamara getting his first head coaching job, as he will move from the top assistant at Syracuse to the head coach at Siena, who was god-awful this past year. I saw it the other day. McNamara is one of my favorite players of all time.
Yep.
Him and Aaron Kraft are my 2 favorite college basketball players of all time.
Funny thing is that McNamara still could have been actually coaching, but Syracuse was there was a log jam of 3 teams that were right on the bubble of getting into the NCAA tournament, and none of them did. It was Wake Forest, Syracuse, and Pitt, and none of them got into the field. As good as the ACC was, They only got 4 in. It was North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, NC State, and NC State had to win the conference tournament to do it. And it was their
Mhm.
first conference tournament win since 1987. So their first automatic bid in over 30 years. But Wake Forest accepted a bid to go to the NIT and lost in the second round. And then Syracuse and Pitt decided to be little bitches and cry about it that they didn't get into the field where their resume wasn't good enough and didn't even play in any postseason tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, Patino did it too.
If UConn runs the table and wins this whole thing, they would be the first repeat national champion in 17 years.
Florida.
Against my father's two favorite programs, UCLA and Ohio State.
Yeah, that's the year they won. They beat Ohio State in the national championship in football and basketball.
Yep. Here's a little extra trivia, not so much trivia question, but a little bit of history happened today too. In
What happened?
Division 2, Minnesota State, their men's program won the Division 2 national championship.
Nice.
Minnesota State women also won the Division 2 national championship.
Did they really? That's awesome.
It is only the third time in college history, in college basketball history, that the men's and women's programs have both won the championship in the same calendar year.
UConn did it, didn't they?
Twice. 2004 and 2014.
The 04 team was Diana Taurasi.
I also remember that 04 team because my grandfather's favorite teams, he followed 3 teams his entire life. The Cavs, Duke men, UConn women. And the UConn women won that year, and he passed away. They won, and then he passed away in November of that year. So if you think about it, UConn won in 04, 14. They did the double dip, and the men are well on their way to winning in 24 at this particular rate. They are 2 wins away from going back to back. And let's see what the women do, because the women's program right now is getting red hot. South Carolina got a scare. USC got a scare. Let's see what one of the teams that was in that last year's national championship game is going home on Monday night. Paige Beckers is probably the best player in this tournament right now with the numbers that she's putting up for Gino Auriemma.
I saw that. And Gino's not shy about saying that either.
Exactly.
Good for Gino, by the way. Sorry, it's hearing noises upstairs. Excuse me. I think Purdue's going to win tomorrow. And I think
Purdue over Tennessee as well.
And I think Cinderella's going to keep marching.
I got to go Dukies. It's not homerism. I think what Duke did to Houston shows that they actually have the caliber of talent to keep this run going, whereas the Wolfpack are just playing with lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, but sometimes lightning strikes twice.
I mean, it struck for the last 8 games at this particular point. NC State should have been playing in the NIT and should have been bounced weeks ago.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, I think, if I remember correctly, I haven't watched any of the ACC anything, but NC State found something in their win against Duke in the ACC tournament. So has Duke had enough time to make the adjustments? Which I think they have, but again, you're playing in the tournament. You're not worried about a team you beat in the ACC. You lost in the ACC tournament. So the adjustments they've made to beat the teams in front of them, including Houston, which was a great win, by the way. Did they have enough time to go back to the drawing board and realize that they got to beat NC State again?
So the last 2 days, my bracket got fucked. It's because I don't pick round by I don't pick all the way through. I go round by round, game by game. The first round, the round of 64, I went 20, 11, and 1. So it was a 641 winning percentage clip. The round of 32, I went 11, 2, and 3.
Jesus.
The round of 16, I went 3, 5, and 0.
Oof.
I won on UConn. I lost on Illinois over Iowa State. I called the Alabama upset over North Carolina. I lost on Clemson beating Arizona. I won on Duke over Houston. I lost on NC State over Marquette. Fucking Marquette. I'm a Marquette fan. That's 2 years in a row. They bowed out earlier than I expected. I predicted Gonzaga over Purdue. That damn sure didn't happen. And then I thought Creighton was going to upset Tennessee. That damn sure didn't happen. And I'm already, and I've got Alabama in this game right now, and it is Alabama by 7 with 4 minutes to go. So I'm looking right now to be 2-0, but I don't think I can finish any better than like 66% if I win out. And I've got Duke and Purdue tomorrow.
Jeez.
That was probably the most brutal Sweet 16 I've ever had.
That's rough. That is rough. So let's get to the second topic here, the NFL rule changes.
And there's 3 major ones that everyone talked about in no particular order, and we'll talk about them all briefly. The banning of the hip drop tackle, the a slight alteration to the coach's challenge, and then a massive overhaul of the kickoff rule.
Well, the kickoff rule, what are they doing?
People call it novelty for what they've done, but it adds it was either this or get rid of it entirely.
Jesus.
Because at this particular point, I was talking with my dad about it, and he actually said, "What a joke and what a novelty, and it's ridiculous." But kickoffs only got returned at a rate of 21.3% last year.
Yeah, they're going through the end zone.
In the XFL and the USFL that adopted these hybrid type rules or novelty, however you want to call, kickoffs were returned at the rate of 71%.
Okay.
So
it's putting a specialist back in the game, basically.
Essentially, yeah, because if you kick the ball into the end zone, you can actually take the ball out to the 30. It's not the 20 anymore; it's the 30.
Well, it's been the 25 for a while, like college had done. I remember that part.
So just to summarize it, you're going to still be kicking off from the 35, but they're not going to be instilled to bomb it out of the end zone because, again, the ball is going to be coming out to the 30. You're going to have the return team basically set up at their own 30, and then the kicking team is going to be set up at the opponent's 35. So there's going to be a 5-yard wedge between them, and everyone's going to have to be on the line. So there's no more wedge blocking. The only people that are permissible to move while the ball is in the air is going to be the kicker and the return specialist. Nobody is allowed to move until that ball either hits the ground, goes out of bounds, or is fielded by the receiver.
That's not terrible. No, the hip drop tackle just sounds stupid.
It is, and because you'd figure receivers are getting larger and cornerbacks are getting smaller. And how do you expect a 5'10", 185-pound guy to take down a 6'3", 280-pound linebacker where when we were growing up, 6'3", 280 pounds was a defensive end?
Yeah, no, it's craziness. The thing that I found funny, I sent it to you and John, or I just sent it to John, about the final play of the Rams-Titans Super Bowl.
Yeah, you told that to me. You sent it to me, and I didn't actually comment on that because it was right behind the Blues winning the Stanley Cup in 2019. That was my favorite sports memory of my lifetime, even more than the Cavs winning the title, because I was a fan of both of those teams.
Yeah, no, I said to John, but the question is, could you imagine? Could you
Yeah.
imagine that play? You call the hip drop, and now Eddie George and Steve McNair get an untimed down at the 1 yard line. Tennessee's got and no disrespect.
Overtime.
Yeah, and
And
no
also,
disrespect.
also remember the 2-point conversion hadn't been installed in the NFL yet.
No, so you're talking about going to overtime, and that was back when they did things like the Music City Miracle. You had to kick off to start overtime, and Tennessee was getting the ball. You had to be ready. I don't get the hip drop tackle thing. We'll have to have John on to really explain what a hip drop tackle actually is, because he had said that per what they're talking about with the rules, that play wouldn't have been a hip drop. So it's like, okay, when we get closer to the season, let's really, obviously John, who is our go-to guy with football and writing and ideas and basically, whatever we're looking for that day, we'll get John on there. What was the third rule?
If a
challenge.
team is successful on 2 previous challenges, they now actually earn a third. Kind of like what I think, doesn't baseball do something like that?
That is what baseball does. So they're adopting what baseball's doing. Okay, that's smart though. Especially, they need to bring back challenging PI calls. By the way,
Yeah, it was there for like a cup of coffee after the Rams
year.
got over on New Orleans in the NFC title game that year, and you never heard about it again.
Because not many people did it the following year. I think New Orleans did it the most out of anybody. Just to be pricks. But that's Sean Payton. He's a prick. But yeah, they need to bring that back. You should be able to challenge a call like that, especially in the playoffs. Because could you imagine if they could have challenged the call in Kansas City, the Browns?
Yeah.
That was a helmet to helmet. That he led with the crown of the helmet. They should have called that exactly what it was. The Browns get the ball on the 1 yard line. Chubb punches in. We're talking about the Browns going to Buffalo for the AFC Championship game. And possibly not having a guy who, when they did the TikTok about the favorite beers of the quarterbacks in the AFC, was said he would be the one trying to find the drunkest chick at the bar. I'm sorry. I had to.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. The last one. Speaking of, did I send you a thing about what Jerry Jeudy said?
No.
He sent a tweet out, I need a massage therapist.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
He was dead serious.
Here's what I'm wondering. He came from Denver. Who's going to be able to recommend better ice fishing this winter?
He came from Colorado. You think he's going to bring some of the...
It's legal here.
Oh, yeah. By the way, with that comment Judy made, there's one more.
You have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
DC teams, who was going to move?
There was talk with Capitals and Wizards owner Ted Leonsis. There have been discussions to be able about possibly moving both teams out of DC downtown and moving them into Northern Virginia. And those talks have apparently not only stalled, but apparently have been ended to where they're going to be staying in DC proper.
Good.
I mean, I understand that the Commanders are headed to Northern Virginia for too long, getting out of Andover. But that seems to, I mean, we discussed it when we talked about the Browns stadium a couple of, the last few weeks, is that Your football team doesn't play downtown proper. Most of them don't. You
No.
know, Los Angeles you can get away with. Las Vegas is off the strip. Kansas City it's not right in the heart of downtown. Chicago is though. But they're talking
Hell,
about
the Jets and Giants don't even play in fucking New York.
exactly. Buffalo is in Orchard Park, which is 20 miles away. You know, the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, all of theirs are in downtown. Most of your football stadiums aren't right in the center of downtown. Your basketball and your baseball and your hockey teams, your multi-purpose arenas or smaller stadiums like that, those you can put in downtown proper.
Yeah, no, it's I understand. Again, going to the one that we have vested interest in, I understand why the Browns want to move to Brook Park. I think it's a great move. I don't think a team that has been in the playoffs 3 times in 25 years should get a new stadium. I understand what it'll do economically. I understand what it would possibly do to bring a Super Bowl there. And I've said it before. I believe Cleveland deserves a Super Bowl. I think Cleveland would do well with a Super Bowl. And I think that the city deserves the economic ramifications from it. But I don't see how you can go to the polls as someone with half a brain in their skull and give this regime, who has not proven to you they can keep a winner on the field for more than a year, write a blank check for a couple of $1 billion to build a new stadium. What are you going to do with the other one?
I mean, here's the question, because they kind of want to keep it on the lakefront. Would you rather pay 3/4 to a full $1 billion to renovate the current stadium, or would you rather pay $2 to $2.5 billion to build a new one out in the suburbs, basically across the street from Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, where it would be, think of what you already get out there with the IX Center and the multi-purpose facility. Hell, they used to build an amusement park inside there. What do you think they'd be able to do with the stadium out there, even though most fans are going to be driving from the east side anyway?
Jim, I don't disagree. Again, I think it's a good move economically for Cleveland. I think it's a good move popularity-wise for Cleveland, because I do think Cleveland will get a Super Bowl. But again, they got the stadium built on public funds the first time because they wanted them back so bad.
And it was rushed.
But I will say this.
Well, here's the thing.
Again,
go ahead.
I don't want to pay more money for a franchise that's still to this day, 25 years later, can't get out of their own fucking way.
For me, the economic part of it would be, if you're going to build the stadium out there, you've got to make sure that you've got businesses in the area that would be able to support the tailgating first and foremost, because really all that's out there is the airport literally across the street. That's part of the reason why the downtown scenario for the Browns, as rabid as the fan base is, works, because they're tailgating in the downtown metropolitan area, the Muni lot, whatever it might be, for hours beforehand, because there's always places open. There's nothing out in Brook Park there. So you've got to be able to make sure that you've got ample bars and restaurants or whatever, because you can't get into the airport just to be able to go use the restaurants.
No, you can't. That would overload Hopkins to no end. You're talking about, this is probably a 4 to 5 year expansion of Brook Park, which, great, good for Brook Park, phenomenal.
Or you'd be looking at a 2-year renovation of Brown Stadium.
And they got to find some place to play. So they end up playing, let's be honest here, they'd end up playing in Columbus. There's no other place to play.
Either Columbus or Columbus would actually work, but are people really going to drive in Cleveland, in Northeast Ohio, or even really Ohio proper at all, whether 2.5 hours every Sunday and then coming home, especially let's say if it's a 4:00 game? Are they really coming back in less than ideal conditions in pitch black darkness by halftime?
No, you're right. And listen, the learners who owned the Browns first set themselves up for this when they had to put that building up that quickly. They probably should have came back in 2000.
I will say the only saving grace would be is that if you're doing the renovations, you naturally aren't doing them during the season. Whereas when you did renovations for Romo Fijo, you did it year round, where they said no concerts, no wrestling or anything, and they could work through the summer on those, and the Cavs weren't playing in the summer. Same thing with the Monsters. With the Guardians, it was a little tougher, and we're glad that we actually got a little bit more of a mild spring from the time that they ended, because between November and February in Cleveland, the weather sucks. With the Browns, you figure even if you get snow into mid-April, you've got the whole summer, and because that stadium doesn't have to be ready until March, so you've got 5 months worth of proper good weather to be able to work on that over 2 years.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the problem is going to be if they retrofit the dome. And that's going to be the issue. That's going to be the most expensive thing. I don't think they should. If you're going to do the dome, build a new one. But again, a voter in Cleveland has to ask themselves that question. Am I going to have to pay X amount more for whatever they do? What was the excise tax on beer and cigarettes and stuff last time?
Yeah, syntax.
So am I going to pay another sin tax for however many years for a stadium for a team that, quite honestly, again, the other two who paid their own way, basically, playoffs 19 times in 25 years.
Yeah, and then also you're going to have to, and you can now start adding marijuana into that as well.
If they put the tax on the weed, they'd probably make the money a lot faster. So, Jim, we're at an hour and 48. Shall we?
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever acclaimed.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the YC Translator, the best segment of the night, because it's the last segment of the night. We know we get just as excited as you guys do for this one for that very reason. So, as always, the YC Translators, when James and I give ourselves and our guests one name, inside or outside of the sports world, and the first thing that pops into their mind is what they bring us with the answer. Now, last week we had a little problem as John psychoanalyzed the entire procedure that we go through, and it kind of bothered me a little bit as I watched the translator again this week. We've had a lot of good ones. We've had Dwayne Johnson called a shitty actor. We've had John compare Kyle Shanahan to a cheap Pornhub actress. We've had Jim. I keep going back to Kyrie because the douche canoe it's got legs, man. And of course, I live in Georgia, therefore Boss Hog is still Brett Favre.
We also had a kind of you sent me something on Facebook or Instagram with a former favorite of another one of our guests from Miss Lauren Bobert.
Just so you know what the meme is, ladies and gentlemen, it's Joey Chestnut of Nathan's hot dog eating contest fame. And it says 72 wieners in so many minutes. And then Lauren Bobert on the bottom, hold my beer. You're a fucking
Good night, everybody.
You're a dick. Okay, for those of you who can't tell, last Monday and Tuesday, I spent Monday at Walt Disney World. Not at the park. We had friends who were in from out of town, and if you go and you visit your friends and family at the park, they actually let you park there. You can do stuff with them all over the place. And then I spent Tuesday in Hernando, Florida. Fun fact, I stayed on the Ted Williams Memorial Highway as he was passed away in Inverness, which is right next door. Spent the morning in the pool. By the way, great in the back. Phenomenal in the back. I was walking around with no pain. And then we drove home and it was all back. I am peeling hardcore on my newly tanned and burned dome. And this asshole talks about the Puerto Rican in springtime shedding their skin.
Crikey. You know what'll actually fix your sunburned head?
What's that?
Freezing it, like Ted Williams.
Well played, James. Well played. So, as always, I give Jim the first name in the translator each night. And tonight, you know what? I'm going to go there. Jim, your first name in the Wisey translator is LSU head coach Kim Mulkey.
If it's really a hatchet piece, say your piece and be done with it. But shut up, because you're about to get bounced on Monday night by the best player in the women's game right now. And there's going to be a bunch of people just sitting back and just doing this. We're all going to be playing fiddles while watching you burn.
I'm ready.
Call Caitlin Clark Napoleon.
Nice.
Or not
Nero.
Nero.
Nero. Yeah. I'm excited.
I have no problem with Kim Mulkey. I cannot stand Reese.
I don't like either one of them. I think Kim Mulkey spends too much time trying to be Elton fucking John in the 70s, and should coach basketball. This ain't about you, baby. It's about the players. Who cares what you're wearing?
Tara Vanderveer doesn't do that. Gino Auriemma doesn't do that.
Could you imagine Gino doing it?
You got one national title. Shut up.
Could you imagine Gino doing that? Did you see him do the thing at the ref the other day?
Yeah.
I thought you'd like that.
God, you find very, very few examples of especially in college basketball, a coach and a player who complement each other so well because of certain characteristics, whether it's the fire that they bring to the court. Between Gino and Paige Beckers, name another coach-player combination that talks that much trash and backs it up.
I can do it, and I can do it in one note. Thank you. Gino Auriemma and Diana Taurasi. How about Gino Auriemma and Sue Bird?
You notice the common theme here is it's
Gino.
all Gino, but I think Paige might talk more trash than both of them.
She might. Paige can't back it up like Diana can.
Let's actually see if Paige comes back for one more year with her. That's still not 100% on the table. I know she's got an extra year of eligibility.
She already said it. She's at senior night. She already said it. She's coming back next year.
Okay, good. It's and I'd love to see what she can do for a full year healthy.
Me too. She's a great player. Could you imagine if Indiana sucks next season in the WNBA and they take Beckers with the first pick in 2 years, and they have Caitlin Clark, the chick from last year, and Paige on the same team?
I think at that particular point, number one, the WNBA will never let that happen.
No.
Number two, the NBA will never let that happen. Michael, we're going to stay on the college basketball theme here for a moment. Your first name in the Wisey translator this evening is UConn head coach Dan Hurley.
Quickly becoming the best Hurley in the college basketball game. He's good, dude. He's good. Is he related to Bobby?
No,
Okay.
but he was yelling, he was hooping, he was chest bumping his players, he was swinging the net around after he cut it down in Dallas tonight. Dallas is tomorrow for Duke and NC State. But he is quickly establishing himself as he's surely a top 10 coach in college basketball right now. He'll surely eclipse into the top 5 if they finish this thing next weekend.
Agreed. Now, here's my question about him. Calhoun left 15 years ago. Who was right after him? Because the guy right after him won a title too, right? Kevin Ollie.
And Kevin Ollie won a national title as well. And Dan Hurley's he's 2 wins away from back-to-back.
Calhoun won 1 or 2.
2?
I think he won 2. He won with Emeka Okafor. He did win 2 because he won with Rip Hamilton. He won with Emeka Okafor.
Jim Calhoun is 81 years old.
Good for Jim Calhoun.
He's got 3.
Who was the third one?
99, 04, and 11.
Kemba.
Yep, that's right.
Cardiac Kemba. Oh, that was the year one of the last years of the Bigs tournament in the Garden, and he went off.
I'm just looking back over that 2011 tournament. Man, was that loaded. Kansas, Duke, Ohio State, and Pitt were your number 1s. Carolina, Florida, Notre Dame, and San Diego State were your 2s. Syracuse, BYU, Purdue, and UConn were your 3s. And Kentucky, Wisconsin, Louisville, Texas were your 4s.
Didn't the Bucks go to the Final Four that year? No, they lost to Dayton.
No, Kentucky
went to the Final Four.
16.
That's right. Okay. They went to Sweet 16. It was 12 they went to the Final Four. When did that take them to the Final Four? 12 or 13.
That was the VCU Final Four in 11. That was UConn over Kentucky, Butler over VCU, and then UConn over Butler by 12 in the championship. Yeah, that was Kemba Walker. He had 18 and 7 in the championship, in the semifinals, and then in the national title, that was Jeremy Lamb as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelvin Mack for Butler.
Dude.
Wow. Hey.
Happy Easter, bud.
Happy Easter, John.
Did you see we have a crocodile hunter wannabe over here? Dick. I am peeling too, John. Piece of advice, gentlemen. If I may, not that either one of you will ever have to worry about this. Sunburn on a dome, don't shave. Don't do it. It hurts like hell.
Or use a single blade razor like I do to where, because like your cartridge razors are, if you use one of those Gillettes, and I keep telling you guys this, if you use one of those Gillettes, like a 5-blade or even a 4-blade, every time you go through those blades, it's taking off a layer of skin. So with one of those 5 blades, it's 5 passes.
I just used the 5-blade here. That didn't hurt as bad. Putting the 3-blade on the head sucked. James, I have a final name for you in the Wisey Translator.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. We discussed last week that there is a upcoming sequel to Happy Gilmore, which we're excited about. Your second name in the Wisey Translator is the person who is rumored to be cast as Chubbs Jr., one Eldrick Tiger Woods.
mean, his PGA career is essentially over, so now actually let the endorsements start cashing in, so I figure at least this way he can actually be shown as being competitive.
He's in Augusta. He's 3 hours away from you right now.
Did you hear who has thrown their name into the hat to replace Julie Bowen?
No.
Paige Spiranak.
Really? Yeah, right?
She replicated the infamous beer pitcher shot, and every red-blooded man on it in the Western Hemisphere basically needs a cold shower.
I thought I sent you the cast list. I must not have, unless it's in the chat with both of you. Yeah, I did. So this is the rumored cast list. Come on. Not now. Just do it. Come on. Faster. Come on.
Michael, check your messenger. When I used the cartridge razor, John, they were very good.
Harry's is what I use, dude. I grow facial hair like a preteen.
So are you like Beavis and Butthead, where you're like, shaving it off your head and like taping it on your face? And
This is the rumored cast: Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore, Christopher McDonald's Shooter McGavin, Will Zalatoris
Zalatoris is good.
as Happy's caddy, Sydney Sweeney as Cart Girl, Tiger Woods as Chubbs Peterson Jr., and Paige Spiranak as Public Relations Lady. That's the rumored cast.
Who is Sydney Sweeney rumored?
Cart Girl.
I just watched that movie that she did. I think we talked about it. The one that she did with the guy from Top Gun. Sydney Sweeney is my new favorite actress in Hollywood.
You said that. The dude that he was also in the Spy Kids movie.
Yep. But if you put Paige Spiranak and Sydney Sweeney on the same screen at the same time, does that like open like a black hole in the theater to where everybody gets like sucked in?
Would you complain?
No. If I was going to quote Shooter McGavin.
The question is, does Julie Bowen come back as Mrs. Happy Gilmore?
Ooh. Because people also forget, like, when you look at everyone where they were and where they ended up, Christopher McDonald hadn't done a whole lot since. Adam Sandler became Mr. Hollywood. Carl Weathers is always going to be Carl Weathers. And Julie Bowen then got cast onto one of the most successful sitcoms in history.
Yeah. So everybody did okay. Who's my second name, Jim?
Choices. I got quite a few of them written down here. I'm going to go back to the college basketball and we've brought his name up earlier. Zach Edey.
I'm going to make people forget about that kid from Indiana State. I'm going to be the white man of the tournament.
Even though he's half Chinese and Canadian.
Yeah.
His mom is 6'3".
Dude. He's good. He's going to be good in the NBA too. I'd like to see a Western Conference team draft him and put him face up on Wemby every night.
Damn, that would be fun.
I kicked the
There's
thing.
part of me that actually thinks, what if the Pistons land him and pair him up with Kate Cunningham?
Don't say that. The Cavs would be boned.
I mean, let me just look at the NBA standings real quick, because we know he's going to be a top 10 pick, if not a top 5. And I can't wait to get Patrick on after our hiatus next week, just to be able to see where some of these guys could go. But him in Detroit, you pair him up with Cade Cunningham, that'd be scary. San Antonio's not going to take him. Portland pairing him up with Scoot Henderson could be nice.
Hold on. Could San Antonio take him and recreate the Twin Towers from the end of Robinson's career?
No,
Why
because
not?
they're going to need somebody.
Guards.
They're going to need guards to be able to shoot. Wemby can shoot from the outside, but you don't want a 7'7" guy paired up with a 7'4".
Got it.
Him in Washington could be interesting, but then again, there's not much there. Him in Charlotte could be very interesting, but again, there's not much there.
That can be found.
I think right now the best opportunities for him would be Portland or Detroit, because you've already got a good young stud guard in Scoot Henderson and Cade Cunningham already.
No, they would be honestly the best spots for him. Or you get him with a veteran who's really going for it. But there really aren't many that are going to be in the lottery. He's a lottery pick.
And depending on what he does at Pro Day, I think Ryan Kalkbrenner at Creighton could be another potential first-round pick for somebody with that kind of size and the fact that he can actually shoot the mid-range jump shot as well.
He's going to be good too at the next level, I think. What else you got for me there, sir? Well, we just did Edie. We got to do yours. Speaking of big men,
I believe you forgot your 9-iron.
No. He hits it where it lies. I had to hit the ball off of Frankenstein's fat foot. Jim, your final name.
Go ahead.
In the Wisey Translator this week, sir. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Jim Nance.
Somebody talk about actually being the envy of every man on the planet. It's not whoever's dating the supermodel. This guy goes from calling the Final Four to calling Augusta the very next weekend. Where do I sign up for that gig?
Well, he retired from calling the Final Four. He's not doing it anymore. But,
but he's still all over it. Think
about it this way. A couple years ago, his February was the Super Bowl. His March was the NCAA tournament, and then he called Augusta. And I want to say it was the year Tiger won after so many years. That him and Romo did the Super Bowl that year. He calls Tigers win at Augusta. When you saw the remaking of the scene with him and his dad, with him and Charlie. And then he calls the NCAA tournament in between.
I still want that job, even though he retired from doing the Final Four. But seriously, regardless of whether it's Kevin Harlan or Ian Eagle or whomever, who's in the big chair, calling that's going to be calling that on the Turner brand of networks. I'm not saying good luck, but it's going to be a little different because that was always the pairing that you thought of. So when it's football, you think of Nance and Romo. When it was college basketball, you thought of Nance and Billy Packer, and then it turned into Nance and Bill Raftery. and then
Mhm.
it was Nance and Paul Azinger, and
Yeah.
and even who's the goofball on the course who actually jumped over to live? Gary McCord.
Yeah, Gary McCord was funny.
But
I was saying Andy North, but that's ESPN.
and NBC for a while.
Yeah.
Um, but there's very few that could really be multifaceted like that. You know, Harlan's not going to call golf. Gus Johnson's not going to call golf. He's not going to
Oh, that'd
call.
be funny.
It would be funny, but it's Nance, it's Mike Tirico, and there might only be one or two other guys, and then the line stops there.
Yeah, because you figure Tirico used to do the college football championship games on radio for ESPN.
And then he also did Monday Night Football, and he called he's the lead analyst with NBC golf coverage. So he's done
And
it
now
all.
he's in the Olympics.
Yep. Which people forget that is only 4 months away, 3 or 4 months away.
Yeah.
I'm
I can't
looking
believe
forward
it's
to that.
I can't believe it's an Olympic year already. So, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we will be on hiatus next week as I will be out of town. Our next show will be the 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do some finagling and look for that to be a big basketball episode. As we get the NBA playoffs going to be coming, we're trying to get Patrick on for that one. Do a little deep dive on these inconsistent and driving us crazy Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, we'll have some baseball coverage then too because we'll be about a month, 2.5, 3 weeks into the season. But here on out, man, it's going to start getting crazy because we're going to have a national champion crown in the next week. We're going to have actually two because the women's tournament. We're going to have baseball gets into full swing. We got both the NHL and NBA playoffs coming. Speaking of hockey, may I tip my hat to the two-time women's NCAA college hockey champion Ohio State Buckeyes beat Wisconsin again. Dude, I watched a replay of that game on YouTube. They were laying the wood to Wisconsin.
I think Frozen 4 is
It's coming up. Yeah, it's coming up.
they're down they're actually setting the final four right now. It's
Nice.
Stop playing the stupid thing in the background. Right now it's Denver and Boston U in 1, and then between today and tomorrow, they're going to have. Well, tomorrow they've got the other two Elite Eight. It's going to be Boston College and Quinnipiac, and then Michigan State and Michigan, and then Frozen Four takes place April 11th. So they're actually giving them a couple of week break here, and it's going to be in St. Paul at the XL Energy Center, home of the Wild.
Nice. So we're going to get possibly a New York team and also a Big Ten team into the Final Four.
We're actually we're going to have the national championship game is going to be going on as probably wrapping up as we're going live. The game doesn't start until 6
On the 13th?
13th.
Nice. So, Jim, what's coming up on the sports note?
We had the North Carolina State piece earlier tonight. I want to start getting a little bit more baseball in now that it's got started, but I think I'll probably give that a week or two. I may want to actually jump back into the latest fiasco involving Draymond Green here, especially after he got lost in under 4 minutes the other night. Let's see what happens when he comes back, and let's see if they do any sort of fine or suspension down the stretch. And really just watching the end of this tournament, which is probably the most invested in that I've been in March Madness in a long time, considering every single one of the teams that I'm following, with the exception of Duke, got their asses kicked in the last 48 hours.
Dude. What a tournament it's been, though, too.
As long as it wasn't Kentucky, I was happy. Kentucky gets bounced. Then it turned into the other team I hate just as much. As long as it wasn't Arizona, then Arizona got bounced by Clemson. I realistically, outside of maybe Tennessee, just because I hate Tennessee with a passion, I don't have anything against their basketball school. I do not have a problem with any other team left in this tournament.
Yeah, it usually runs that way because the guys you want to get bounced usually do because you kind of know where they're going to get bounced. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to it. The rest of the Elite Eight will be put together in the next couple.
Alabama advanced to their to the Final Four with an 89-82 win over Clemson. So Alabama will play UConn next Saturday night in Phoenix.
Nice. I like UConn in that game.
I don't think they're going to go on a 30-0 run, but I think it might be a 30-point win at this point.
Jesus. We're calling 30-point wins in the Final Four.
I've already got it penciled in.
Nice.
I've
Look
already
at
got
that.
my pick for next week already.
So the other side of the bracket is going to be determined tomorrow.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here.
No on today's games after the last 2 days.
Yeah, right. So we are going to get out of here for tonight. We will see you guys on the 13th for JC Blue No. I am the Big Rican. And have a good rest of your weekend. Happy Easter to everybody out there. And hopefully next time you see me, I'll have my hat on because my head won't be falling off. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Happy eclipse, everybody.
Happy eclipse, he says.